The federal government is making changes to Canada's employment insurance program. The changes make it easier to support workers who could be losing their jobs during this trade war with the U.S. The Bank of Montreal is now predicting Canada's unemployment rate could increase by 8% if tariffs stay in place for 1 year. With more on this, I'm joined by Andrew Bratt, partner at the law firm Gowling WLG. Andrew leads the firm's employment, labor, and equalities practice, and he's with me in studio this morning. Good morning, Andrew. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what changes is Ottawa making and why?
So the changes that came down late Friday were changes to the work-share program. And before I get into them, the work-share program, really briefly, is a three-party agreement between Service Canada, an employer, and a group of employees who have agreed to share in a reduction in work. And essentially what happens is they'll share in the work that's left, and they'll collect EI for the balance of time that their hours have been reduced. The problem with the work-share program historically is that it's been pretty difficult to access it. It's a bit of a complex program. So what the government has done is they're trying to facilitate the use of the work-share program by increasing the maximum duration from 26 weeks to 76 weeks, by increasing the eligible pool of employers so that if you've been operating in Canada for more than 1 year, you're eligible, and by just streamlining the process. So
this sounds like some much-needed relief, unfortunately, under the shadow of these tariffs. Why do you think it's created this need for change?
Yeah, I think that almost every industry is going to be impacted by tariffs, some more than others. I'm actually not overly convinced that the work-share program will necessarily do what it's intended to do and that we hope it will do. I thought the government was actually going to make modifications to the EI program itself, sort of what we saw during COVID with the emergency response benefit, so that it would be accessible to more to almost all Canadians. The work-share program is a really specific program that typically only works for much larger employers, but I think it's the first step of many.
Right, and it sounds like we're going to be in this for a bit.
Yeah.
So you talked about how the government reacted to job losses during the pandemic, and this would be different. What things did we learn? What were some of the takeaways from that experience during COVID?
I think the major takeaway during COVID was we have to be able to react swiftly. And I do credit the government for acting swiftly in this case, and especially in a time where it's incredibly uncertain. We don't know what impact the tariffs are going to have yet. We don't know how long this is going to last. During COVID, it was quite different. We knew that employers were going from 100 to 0 overnight. Some businesses lost all revenue literally overnight, whereas now, we don't know how long this is going to last and what the actual impact is going to be, which is why I think you've seen more modest changes to the work-share program as opposed to more dramatic changes to EI or, for example, a wage subsidy program. Beyond those changes to EI that you mentioned, is there something else that the government could be doing right now? I think a wage subsidy program, and I think that's likely to come if the trade war extends beyond a certain period of time. What would a wage subsidy program be? Almost identical to what we saw during COVID, where employers are actually promising not to lay employees off, and in exchange, the government is subsidizing a portion of their wages. What are you hearing from people and from industry right now during this turbulent time? What I'm hearing is, what do we do? What do we do? How do we react when we don't actually know what's going to happen? We don't know, how many more pauses there are going to be, what goods are affected by the tariffs, how long it's going to last. A lot of my employer clients have said, we're going to take a wait-and-see approach, whereas obviously during COVID, they didn't have the benefit of waiting and seeing. It happened overnight. Thank you very much, Andrew, for this insight this morning. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.